So I think the last time we talked, we hadn't been in pads yet, so we've had 3 days of pads, which is good. Most of you guys were here. I didn't think the first day in pads was very good for us. And then, or maybe it was the second day. Today we had the short yardage goal line. But I thought the guys stepped it up after that, after we challenged them in meetings. And then today was the 10-10-10, so it was kind of more execution and mental. We got a long way to go. We got a lot of guys banged up, so we're kind of working through that. But with that, I'll just open it up and fire away.
There's been every day a different defensive leader. You know, yesterday Drew was kind of chippy and getting into it. George has had a day. Nick has had a day. Is that just something that this defense does, or?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that's a thread of all defenses. I'm certainly hoping it's a thread of ours. I don't think there's anything wrong with being chippy as long as we remember that we're all on the same team and that there's there's some respect there. And I think our guys handle that pretty good. I mean, we didn't get no fisticuffs yet, right? So nobody wants to encourage that. But listen, the game's physical, and the one thing we have conveyed to them is, you know, especially the vets, like when you add up the number of plays they get in the 3 preseason games, I don't know, let's say it's 35 to 50, but you might be a DB that never gets to make a tackle. You know, so some way you got to work on it, and to me, it's out here when you have pads on, and so we do what we call wrap and release, and that kind of maybe leads to some of that. But I think the offensive guys have been good about it.
Does that kind of go with Nick? I know said that you are preaching right now, no on and off switches always.
Yeah.
Does that kind of go with that?
Yeah, he knows that picture that I put up. It has the, you know, that the switch has an on that plate and an off. Well, the off's crossed out. And they know when they step on the field. I mean, that's how you have to play. I mean, when you take plays off, we don't get enough of them. We have a lot of walkthroughs. So the reps that we do get in the morning, we got to take advantage of, and they got to be full speed.
What kind of progress you've seen from Felix?
Felix? Yeah, I think Felix has gotten a little bit better every day. I think there was a couple practices there he struggled a little bit. I think his confidence is better. The last 2 days he's been pretty good. Like today, I thought he made. Yesterday and today, I thought he did pretty good without watching the tape. I thought he had some good plays.
Your top 3 linebackers, Bolton, Tranquil, and then Leo, just role-wise, how do you kind of see them this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, those are our base linebackers. Those are the 3. Then we try to get them in, mix them in there sometimes, and you know, other downs and distances, possible third down. I think all 3 of those guys are have certain skill sets that we would like to use. You know, get them out there. Now, when you got 3 linebackers in there, you know, somebody's coming out. There's one less DB or there's one less D lineman. So we got to work our way through that. But one of the things we do like being is multiple. And when guys can play different positions, like Leo, he's kind of all over the place. Drew is, you know, and Drew's got to play some Mike linebacker. And yeah, you get to about next week. I talked about it with the staff the other day. You got to start thinking about guys in dual roles now, because pretty soon it's not whatever the number is out there, 90. You know, it's not 90 guys anymore, and all of a sudden our number of guys shrinks. So guys are going to have dual responsibilities.
There's a couple of corners who are hurt right now, so Kelvin Joseph's getting a pretty good run. What have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, Kelvin, I don't know if you know, he had a baby, so he was gone for a little bit. We lost him there, so he was a little bit behind. He's playing catch-up now. He's getting some work with the ones. He made a couple of plays yesterday, so he earned that. But he's going to be right in the thick of the things with the other corner. I mean, you need 3 of them, and he's made enough plays, I think, to warrant working with that first group.
With Drew, Tranquil specifically, I know last year that him and Nick sharing the field together all that frequently. How do you see the dynamic of them both?
You're saying sharing the field out here?
Yeah, just Drew and Nick.
Yeah, listen, the one thing about both those guys is they're both very cerebral, very smart. So I think they feed off each other that way. That goes a long way when, I'll bet if you ask D linemen, they'd tell you that they appreciate the guys that are behind them are really sharp. You know, they're ahead of things. You know, watch out for this motion, watch out for that shift. They change the D lineman here. And when you got 2 guys can do that instead of just one, I think it makes everything go a little bit like that. And I think the rest of the defense knows that about those 2 guys and really rely on them. I mean, I'll watch DBs go over and ask Drew and Nick questions about it. It might even be playing DB or something in the defense because they know that those 2 guys know exactly what's going on.
It seems like Brian Cook has had a pretty good game.
Yeah, we missed him when he got hurt last year. But the one thing about Brian is he goes 100 miles an hour all the time. He'll tell you he was a little bit rusty getting back into it, but I think it's kind of smooth out for him right now.
Let's wrap it up. We'll start with Saran and then go over that and down the line.
Is it important, I know you're trying to replace Legarius and talk about how tough that is and everything, but do you want a 1 and a 2 and a 3, or do you see a scenario where maybe your depth comes into play and it could be matchup driven as to who's that 3, or is it important to have kind of that pecking order of where guys are?
Well, we know who our number 1 is, right? We all know that. And we're just trying to find guys, and we're going to have to find our next 2 best players, however that works out. I mean, we know NJ, Nazi's dealing with his little injury right now. Josh has been out there. Kelvin, there's a lot of guys mixing in there. But somebody's got to surface, and if not, it gets tough. You can have the best pass rush in the world, but these receivers get open quick if you're not able to cover them. So we got some developing to do. We certainly miss LJ, but somebody's got to step up there and take that play. I'm waiting for somebody to, assert themselves and say that, I'm that guy that can do it. Nah, we got a little ways to go on that, in my opinion. Yeah.
When you were telling the guys about having one of the best defenses in the league and then having a disappointing year the next year,
yeah.
Did you want to see? Are you seeing what you wanted to see? That fire, that chippiness, and what are other things you want to see?
I would say yes on that. I know what you're talking about because I conveyed that to them. I mean, look, we all learn from experiences, and I'm always sharing that with them. And so that was an experience that I went through, and my promise to them was I was going to do everything I could to make sure that didn't happen again. And that kind of began with how we operate in practice. That's the on-off switch, which we've always had. But I just wanted them to realize that just because you can't sit on what you did last year, it doesn't automatically happen. And we got a lot of work to do. Got some. We're talking about players we got to fill in for, and we got a long way to go before we figure that part out.
Trent is so good at just about everything, Steve. Is this a period?
It's a good statement.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a true statement.
Is this a period or a time where you're asking him to be more aggressive in terms of what you mentioned, last time we talked to you about takeaways, trying to get your hands on the ball as much as possible?
Trent in particular, you said? Or? Yeah. He's got a natural feel for all that. And, I mean, look, he's waiting for his first NFL interception, right? I mean, but I told him this before. He got voted – when did he get voted All-Pro? By his peers last year. I thought that was the hugest compliment to a DB that did not have an interception, because that tells you all you need to know. So to your point, he does a lot of things really good, and I'll guarantee you he's got his eyeballs on trying to get a couple of picks this year. But the other thing he does a really good job of is he's created some fumbles by having a knack for getting it out. We need all of that from all those guys.
What's the value of these 10-10-10 days for you?
Yeah, more mental than anything. I think we went 3 straight days with pads, and I think Coach Reid would tell you the same thing. It's a good way to get a lot of work done, right, but take a little bit of the physicality off. And it was about time with our guys, and now they'll have the day off, and I think it works out pretty good. Yeah. It's a little agonizing for me sometimes because you can't do anything physically.
And there was Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo live from training camp in St. Joseph, Missouri at Missouri Western. We are bringing you coverage with Trent McDuffie and Creed Humphrey expected to come to the podium here on a Monday in Chiefs Kingdom. Of note, after these 2 live pressers, we'll bring you the full reaction from Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, and Drew Tranquil from this weekend if you missed it, and bring in Neil Jones for live reaction from today's practice. And this weekend as a whole, we'll show you some practice, some beautiful throws, some chippiness between the players. So we've got a fun stream here on a Monday as Chiefs training camp kind of winds down from the ramp-up period, okay? The Chiefs have had 3 straight days of padded practice before today. Today, quicker, no pads, and they are off tomorrow. So they ramp up, now they calm down, and then Wednesday they are back at it. So thank you for hanging out with us here this morning. The headline so far today is that thank you. Shout out Janae. The headline is Xavier Worthy was on the end of a quadruple pass, okay? The Chiefs are bringing out all the stops. We know that this year, especially with the deep ball. But Mahomes to Tony, to Mahomes to Tony, to Xavier Worthy, that was the highlight play. For those of you that went to camp, you saw it, and the fun moment. And it's great to see Xavier Worthy back out there. Remember, he missed 3 practices due to illness, and then now he's had 4 straight practices where he's getting a lot of attention. He's looking strong, making quite the first impression. The rookie wide receiver out of Texas, the first-round draft pick, appears to have a pretty strong role in this offense, especially in the absence of Hollywood Brown. So that brings us to today's injury report. The headliner, and good news, because there is negative news, but the good news is Joe Thuney was activated off the PUP list late last night, returning from that pectoral injury that he suffered in the playoffs, and he got immediate first-team snaps at practice today, right at left guard, the veteran who, of course, won Super Bowls in New England before winning Super Bowls here in Kansas City. So to see the veteran left guard back at practice was a great sign. He did eventually lose some snaps in the first team. You know, they didn't give him all the 100% of the reps in his first practice back. They eventually went to Hunter Norzad, the rookie out of Penn State, along with Mike Caliendo, the second-year player. We've also seen Lucas Niang get left guard snaps at training camp this year, so we'll see how that rotation kind of figures out behind Thuney. But the good news is that Thuney was out there today, which means, you know, I don't know if we'll see him in the preseason, but it looks like he'll be ready to go at least, by the season opener, September 5th, now more than a month away. There was some questions on Thuney's timetable. You know, the older you get, the more veteran player that you are. You don't know for sure. So it's great to see Joe Thuney out there for the first time this morning. Also of note, along the offensive line, you have Joe Thuney at the left guard, and then at left tackle, you have Kingsley Suamataia from BYU, the second-round pick, and Wanye Morris, the second-year player, formerly a third-round pick out of Oklahoma. Today, they split first-team reps. That is of note because for the majority of the weekend, when the pads have been on, the BYU rookie, Kingsley Suamataia, has been your Kansas City Chiefs starting left tackle, not Wanye Morris. The first impressions have slided towards Kingsley instead of Morris. Today, a little bit more of a rotation, so we'll see how that continues to evolve. But worth noting that, you know, they're throwing Kingsley right in the fire for a pretty important position, right? Left tackle is the blindside protector of a $500 million quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, and they're trusting it to 2 unproven players at this point. We'll see how it rolls out. These are very valuable, important reps for the Chiefs as we speak. And again, if you're just now joining us live, we are waiting on Chiefs defensive back Trent McDuffie and Chiefs center Creed Humphrey. We will also hear more from Travis Kelce, Drew Tranquil, Andy Reid, and Neil Jones. Sorry to group Neil into that group of Super Bowl champs. A little bit lower, but we always like hearing from Neil. Injuries to report from today. Chris Jones out again with a groin strain. We don't believe it to be serious, but big number 95 did not practice today. He did not practice yesterday, so that's 2 straight days without Jones out there. Justin Watson out with a foot injury, again, that he suffered last week. Not believed to be super serious, though. Hollywood Brown, the new number 1 wide receiver, out sick today. Justin Reid, of course, is the more serious injury. He's out with that quad injury. It has been since the start of the camp. Don't know how close he is to return, but not in the very near future, at least. And the other one out sick was Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the last 2 practices, and he's been out at times during camp this year. Want to mention this tweet from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back who signed to come back to Kansas City this offseason. This morning he tweeted, quote, "Living with PTSD is no small feat. It's hard and very overwhelming. Within the last month, I've had many flare-ups, and the amazing staff here at the Chiefs have been helping me get through some tough times. I'll be back rolling next practice. All love." So we, of course, send our best to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the former LSU running back that has come here and won 2 Super Bowls in Kansas City, and wish him all the best, and glad he's being upfront, open about it, and progressing with the Chiefs staff and aware of what he's going through, and we wish him all the best. So, again, this was after 3 straight days of padded practice. A little bit of a lighter practice today as they head into the off day tomorrow. A couple observations from camp that we've seen not only today but in past days. One, Nick Bolton, the linebacker, has got a lot of Mizzou call-outs pretty much every day walking down the hill in St. Joe. So the Mizzou fans are showing out, and they're letting him know. I'm serious. It's about every day someone yells out MIZ, and he's calling back COU. So shout out Tiger fans for that. Practices with pads have been expectedly chippy, I would say. You'll see some video coming up here in a little bit about, some sides getting into it both offensive and defensively, which, again, no surprise, but it shows how competitive these guys are. Do these practice matter in the win-loss column? No. Do they matter to the development of this team? Yes, and that's why they're important, especially when it's hot outside. The two most energetic names that you will hear if you go to practice, that you see if you go to practice, running around here, maybe the most vocal guys right now, at least early on, have been running back Isaiah Pacheco and linebacker Drew Tranquil. I'd say those are about the two leading candidates that are flying around and talking a little trash, getting a little chippy. And it looks like we have Trent McDuffie close to the podium. We'll bring you his live reaction here.
Let down after having a really good year defensively. What do you feel like is the kind of edge and mentality of this team that tells you you're not going to have that letdown?
Yeah, honestly, I think it just goes back to the foundation that we built. You know what I mean? I think, for me personally, being here the past 2 years, this defense has just consistently gotten better and better. And I think we're a group of guys that every day we come out to practice, every day we go into the meeting rooms, we have a purpose. And we're out there to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. You know what I mean? So I feel like the standard has been set. And I think having somebody like Coach Spags to really just lay the foundation from day one and say, this is what we're shooting for, this is what we're doing, I feel like everybody's bought in. And I think that's been the best part about being out here so far.
Was there a point last year where you knew how good you were going to be defensively, where you saw things coming together and said, okay, we're going to be the number 2 defense or whatever you guys ended up at?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember last year me talking, but last year OTAs, that was when I first was like, whoa. Coming from rookie year and then going to that spring, I was like, okay, things have been like a little different, something about the defense was clicking on all cylinders. And I feel like from that OTAs to going into training camp to the first game, every single game I felt like the defense just got better and better and better, and each player's got more comfortable and confident. So I saw that from a very early on time period that we were going to be really good.
What do you see in that regard this year?
I think the confidence has just become even more. I think that's the biggest thing for this defense out here is just we've gone through all the bumps and bruises. You know what I mean? We've worked back last year, losing some games and having to fight through playoffs and go to away games and the adversity. So coming back, I think the big thing for us is just welcoming these new guys in, showing them this is the standard, this is how we practice, this is how we do things, the rookies, even the new guys that we just brought in. But I feel like everybody's really just honed it in and took it on the chin and just rolled with the punches.
Coach Spagnolo reminded us of your all-pro season. Just coming off something like that, what is your personal emphasis on how to get better and grow even from the top of the game?
Yeah, last year, all-pro, but I feel like, I still was learning so much. Last year was really my first time at the nickel position, and then this year, LJ leaving, moving to the outside, it's a whole different ballgame, you know what I mean? Inside, you got help here and there, you can do things a little differently, but on the outside, on the island, you got to be a technician. And coming into this camp knowing that I might have to do some more of that. It's been each and every day just working little by little on technique, and just trying to perfect myself out there. So still growing, still learning, and I feel like that's one thing that wakes me up every day.
Darius shut down some of the better receivers in the game. How willing and how vocal have you been about maybe doing that this year if they called upon?
I told Spags, wherever he needs me, like I always said, that's where you can put me. Going against the best of the best, that's why we play this game, to go against the best of the best. So being able to compete no matter who it's against, I'm ready to do that.
In that leadership, in that DB role, how much are you embracing that leadership role?
Yeah, man, I'm not somebody, who's going to be that rah-rah, leader, jump in front, yelling at everybody. But definitely just spending a little more time outside of meetings, outside of being on the field to get to know the guys, to let them know about the little knickknacks that Coach Spags' playbook can have, that I came in as a rookie and being like, yo, slow it down, you know what I mean? It's a big jump come from college to learn this playbook to coming out here. Coach Reid's training camps, the LDDs, that you're going to be tired, you have your bumps and bruises. So just settle in, like we're going to bring you up to speed. So just rely on us, and that's something that I've really been just trying to make myself do each and every day, is just making sure I tell the guys, like, it's going to be all right.
Guys don't talk about it. Guys don't talk about it a lot. But Chris and Nick both talk about how they worked on their mental, in the offseason. How much have you done with that?
Man, that's huge. I mean, I'm someone who's big on just the mental side of everything, you know what I mean? Not just football, but just in life in general, because you never know how somebody's feeling at the end of the day. So going back to California, you know, seeing my family, seeing my little niece and nephew, and just being able to take that time to myself to just understand who I am again and just understand what I want for the rest of this year was huge for me.
Talking about Xavier Worthy and just the trouble he's going to give defenses.
Yeah, I mean, bright kid, you know what I mean? Coming in, humble, fast as hell, as everybody knows, you know what I mean? Can stretch that field definitely, but going against him, he's one of those dudes that you can just tell is just constantly learning, you know what I mean? You constantly see him talking to the coaches, talking to Pat, where he wants some ball, this and that, and the biggest thing for me is he's been catching the ball, you know what I mean? You love to see it. Guys come in here and want to run fast, want to run hard, but at the end of the day, it's catching the ball, and he's been one of those guys that's been consistent with that.
Okay, last three, Sam, Mackenzie, Matt.
So I want to ask you about a couple of safeties. First of all, what are you seeing from Jaden in his first training camp, and then also just getting Brian Cook back? What's that going on?
Yeah, Jaden's doing great. You know what I mean? They got him playing a few different positions, which I know as a safety can be difficult learning this playbook, but he's asking all the right questions. You can tell each and every day he's coming in and taking notes and focusing in and trying to do everything the correct way, which you love to see on the back end, because doing what he's doing is pretty difficult. So just seeing his growth from spring to now has been huge. So I'm excited for him. And then, you know, B. Cook, love the energy. I mean, you miss a guy like that out there that finishes every play. You know what I mean? You see him each and every play running down the field 80 yards to go tackle the ball carrier. One of those dudes that can go sideline to sideline. I mean, he's a vet. He came with me, you know, one of my good friends. So I'm excited for him to have a full year healthy.
Trent, what does a corner need to have in order to thrive in this scheme?
Man, it honestly comes back to knowing your responsibility on each and every play. Coach Baggs has a lot of plays in, and we do a lot of different things. You can be a cover 3 corner, cover 2 corner, cover 4. I mean, we have all the coverages. So knowing where your leverage is and knowing where your help is, and at the end of the day, I mean, Coach Baggs talks about it all the time. It's just disrupting the routes. You know what I mean? Getting your hands on the receivers and messing up that time is the best thing the corner can do in this defense.
Last one, Matt.
You mentioned you're not the raw guy. Who right now is that kind of guy, that vocal guy in the backfield?
I mean, it's always been Jared Reid. You know what I mean?
With him being out right now, who's kind of the guy that's, you know, in a game like this when it's 86 degrees out there?
It's funny. I don't know if Jay Reed's a rah-rah guy, but I don't know if there's anybody that's going out there screaming, yelling. You know, I feel like our back end is everybody's kind of on a level playing field. You know what I mean? And everybody's able to be comfortable enough to speak up, to say, yo, a free agent can tell me, yo, man, you got to do this right, you got to do this right, and we all listen. So we're one of those guys that each and every day we're just helping each other. And, you know, when things are messing up, you know, I might speak up, B. Cook might speak up. I mean, each and every day somebody is coming in here and making sure that the standard is set. And that's something that you love to see. Yeah.
Thanks, Trent.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it.
And that was Chiefs defensive back Trent McDuffie. We will hear from Creed Humphrey, Chiefs center, in just a few moments, live from training camp in St. Joseph, Missouri, at Missouri Western on this Monday. Here comes Creed. Never mind, bad heads up there. So we will continue to wait for Creed Humphrey as our final live guest here today on this Chiefs live stream. Again, afterwards, if you missed Travis Kelce's full comments, Andy Reid, Drew Tranquil, they all had great words to say. This weekend we'll bring you that in depth as well and show you footage from this weekend's press conference. You heard Trent McDuffie. They were talking about Xavier Worthy. We'll show you some of those plays, including an absolute dime from Patrick Mahomes. You know, number 15 is loving this new wide receiver core that he's really embracing this deep ball that hasn't really been there the past couple years. Mahomes actually mentioned McDuffie when asked generically about the defense, like, hey, how do you think the defense is doing at camp this year? Mahomes, the one guy he singled out, he said, yeah, McDuffie, he's pretty good. Of course, this is now his third year. Crazy to think that. Only his third year as the first-round pick out of Washington. All he's done is come to Kansas City and help lead a defensive turnaround that has won back-to-back Super Bowls. All right, continuing with our practice takeaways as we wait on Chiefs center Creed Humphrey. Running back, Deneric Prince, has really been so far a standout at training camp for the second straight year, in part because he's getting second-team snaps, all right, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire out. But even with number 25 in the backfield, Deneric Prince has been getting a lot of reps. This is interesting, of course, because no Jerick McKinnon in the fold this year. He has not been re-signed. He's still a free agent. We don't know if he's retired. We don't know if he's coming back, but McKinnon's status is unknown. So right now, the third running back position seems to be wide open, and potentially even the number 2 spot. We, of course, have the Welsh rugby star Louis Rees-Zammit competing for a spot, but he's so new to football. Deneric Prince right now has the edge, and so far at camp, he's really taken advantage of that. Irv Smith Jr., the new tight end from Cincinnati this past year, signed as a free agent this offseason, a veteran tight end, making a strong impression, competing in what's suddenly a deep tight end room. Of course, you have number 87, Travis Kelce, but you have Noah Gray in his final year under contract. Blake Bell no longer around. The Wichita native was not re-signed this year. Instead, they opt to bring in Irv Smith Jr. to compete with Noah Gray and, of course, their newest draft pick out of TCU, Jared Wiley. So there's 4 tight ends. We've seen that in the past at times when you factor in Jody Fortson was somewhere in there in that mix as well, but he was often hurt. Blake Bell, the expectations weren't more for him outside of really blocking. However, now you've got 4 tight ends that they think can be a real receiving threat. We've seen Irv Smith hauling some big grabs at training camp practice this year so far. Another guy making impressions for a second straight year is wide receiver Nico Remigio. If you remember, he got hurt at the end of training camp, early preseason last year, but he was a darling. He had a great he was a camp darling, and then he had a great preseason game against the New Orleans Saints, but then was out for the year with injury, and he's competing in this wide receiver room that they've really revamped. Not as someone that's going to take snaps away from a Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, probably even Xavier Worthy or Justin Watson, but after that, right now, it's not crazy to think that Nico Remigio could make the team over someone like Justin Ross, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney's getting work at running back. I'd say they're all about equal footing right now, and Remigio's the name that most Chiefs fans probably don't know. They know Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, but given their struggles compared to Remigio's surge in camp over the last 2 years, it's not crazy to think that this will be a big preseason for him. If he can do what he did last year, Remigio could be one of the last wide receivers on this year's team. Of note, also, not necessarily on the field related, but it's hot outside, right? The first few practices, and here's Creed Humphrey.
It's great, getting to have him back, doing some group install stuff, some indie stuff. It's been good, and obviously he's a big-time leader for us. He has a ton of experience, and he's a heck of a player. So whenever you get a guy like that back, it's great.
Against the guys who've been replaced in the up here, but what do you miss when you don't have a guy like that with his ability to experience in the player?
Yeah, well, I mean, experience is the biggest thing. He's done it all in the league. He's played in all the big games and everything, and he sees everything so well, and that's what makes him one of, if not the best guard in the league. So being able to have him back, it's going to be huge.
What do you do? I know there was some snap issues last week. What do you do in the offseason to try to correct that?
Yeah, just focus on technique and just getting the reps in, doing it after a workout when you're tired, things like that, so you can stay focused on the technique while you're doing it.
Snow Joe, talk about playing in this training camp heat and what you guys are doing to keep yourself healthy and prevent injuries.
Yeah, it's a lot of recovery after practice, a lot of rehydration, things like that. So the training staff does a great job. Strength staff does a great job. Nutrition staff, everybody does a great job with us, and getting us back to where we need to be for practice the next day.
What have you learned about this offensive line the last couple of days in pads? I know it's not a game, but what have you learned about this unit?
Yeah, we're still growing as one unit right now. We've added new pieces, and we're getting closer each day. So, as long as the guys continue to keep competing, battling, we're going to like the results for this year. So, for us right now, it's just taking it day by day and getting better every day.
With Kingsley and the rookie, obviously came in and started right away. So can you give us the difficulty of learning the lingo aspect of it, getting up to speed this year?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff thrown at you during training camp, especially as a rookie, and he's done a good job being able to process stuff, study on his own at night, things like that. He's done a good job, and he's picking up on stuff well. So for him, it's just continuing to get these reps, going against really good defensive ends right now, it's going to be really helpful for him. So it's been good, and he's getting better every day, and you can tell he's bought in and working hard to get better every day too.
I suppose some of that applies to the other two offensive linemen, Dorsad and Hansen. What are your impressions of them so far?
They've done great. They're awesome to be around. Same way with them. They're buying in how we need them to, and they've improved every day, and they show some great stuff, and it's been awesome to see so far.
It's only been a few months with Kingsley. Just what are some of the things behind the scenes that you might see him doing to make sure he has his best chance as possible?
Yeah, asking questions in meetings, staying locked in on meetings, things like that, and you can tell he has a instinct for the game. How he needs to play and how he needs to block, things like that. So as long as he keeps continuing to refine his techniques and stuff like he has been, it's going to be really good for him. He's a great athlete. He has the right mindset to be great, so it's going to be good to see.
I know last year you and Trey both said your motto is set the zone. How often are you preaching that to those young guys?
Every day. Before practice every day, we have to let them know. So that's something that we focus on, coming out here every day, setting the tone, making sure our guys are right, making sure we're ready to compete for the day. And so we preach that on them every day.
More business side of the game, you're coming up on that last year. Get involved in negotiations. Do you ask for an extension? Has the team reached out to you about anything like that?
Yeah, right now, for me, I'm focused on training camp. I'm focused on football right now. Focused on getting this team to where it needs to be, and focused on getting the line where it needs to be, and getting myself to where I need to be. So that's my focus right now.
What was just the enjoyment or experience about playing guard last week of the years? Is that something that you wanted to do, maybe?
Yeah, when they originally asked me to do it, it was fun. I had a fun week, so it was a good time. Obviously, I'm more natural at center, just because I've a ton more reps at center. But it's fun, and being able to have the ability to play wherever you need to, it's good. So I had fun with it, and I'll if they ask me to do it again, I'd do it again. But yeah, it was fun. But I like center.
Guys, a couple more here.
Creed, how are they feeding you guys at camp? I saw Rashid's Instagram the other day with you and Trey with the giant steak bones. How are they feeding the big boys here?
Good. They're doing it right. So, but yeah, the food's been great. They have a great option every night, so it's been easy to eat. And there's times also where we'll sneak away and go get a burger or something. But it's been good though. The food's been great. Nutrition staff has done a great job.
Do you have any reaction to the little Raiders?
No. I'm focused on us right now. I'm focused on this team getting better. So, yeah.
All right. Awesome.
All right. Thank y'all for coming out.
And that is Chief Center Creed Humphrey live at training camp in St. Joseph, Missouri, talking covered a lot of ground there, talking about, of course, the Mahomes, Kermit the Frog puppet, talking about food in St. Joe, the weather, everything. Always entertaining. We thank Creed for his time here. Now, if you missed it, Travis Kelce, one of the most popular people on the planet, he also took the podium and talked about a lot of different things, starting with how much he loves this time of year, training camp in St. Joe. And so if you missed it this weekend, we want to play his comments right here as well.
What have been the challenges transitioning from the off-season into this?
This is my sanctuary, baby. St. Joe, year 12. That means I've spent just about an entire year of my life up here in the dorms, man. It's everybody may see that as pretty grueling, but I enjoy it, man. There's something about this place to get you ready every single year, and I'm not gonna lie, got pretty excited as the time started counting down to get out here and get this thing rolling.
Guys, I think of Ed like that out here.
Big Ed, yeah, Big Ed's out here. He's running around doing some stuff with the foundation, 87 are running, and Operation Breakthroughs, the Ignition Lab, and things like that, and then popping out here to St. Joe in the mornings.
Is this as valuable for you, camp, as it was?
Oh, 100%. It still is. It's where it all starts. You can say it starts in the off season, and yeah, you want to get that foundation set in the off season of the leadership and the mentality and things like that. But at the end of the day, this is where you really find out what the team is made of, how you sharpen the iron, how you guys practice, your practice habits, the attention to detail, and nobody does it better than Coach Reid and Coach Spags, man.
You mentioned year 12. Are you doing anything different, like maintenance-wise, or is it still just?
Over every single season, you find ways to get better. What works for you, what doesn't, and you just want to amp it up every single year so that you keep finding ways to kind of climb that staircase of success. And yeah, I would say I'm doing some things different, but nothing really in the grand scheme of things. Just putting my nose down and grinding.
Well, yeah, as a veteran, and this is not on the field, but as a veteran on the team, do you like some of your teammates and some of the players around the league popping off about just playing 18 games, kind of like negotiating in public? You know, in the media, you know, Joe Burrow talking about, you know, two bye weeks, Pro Bowl in the middle of the season, where they're just like kind of giving the owners things away. I know recently the NFL has talked about, you know, going to 18 games, and that's something that the Players Association has talked about now, but they might be open to some negotiation. I mean, negotiating in public where you're not, you know, talking about extended benefits more than 5 years past your retirement, and maybe some type of benefits health-wise. And, are you a fan of that? Of your teammates?
I'm more of a fan of the action of it. So we need to get the guys together, and then that's why we have the PA. You know, I think that's where we really make differences in the guys' lives now and after football. And you know, sometimes saying a few things gets that awareness out and gets guys talking and things like that. So I'm really neither here nor there, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to a vote with the PA and the league, we need everybody voting on that stuff to really get things, I don't know, going in our favor in a sense.
You're the veteran. You're, of course, set for life regardless of how a vote would initially take place, but what would you like to see since the last collective bargaining that, you know, players kind of focus on, you know, because this is going to come up, so what would you like to see them focus on?
Man, I would have to really sit down and think about that one. I haven't really thought about much of that. Right now, I'm just happy that I'm in the NFL and I get to play, baby. Much love.
There's a lot of new guys, even on this offense. I guess, you know, the first week now being in pass, just what intrigues you most about what the group can do this year, and I guess what excites you most about the possibilities of the offense?
We just got new pieces. We got new chess pieces, guys that have different, you know, traits, and we're just trying to blend that all together to make the best team possible, both on offense and defense, and obviously special teams. But it's the ultimate, you know, grind session of working together. We have to be more together right now than even kind of, well, I don't want to say during the season, but right now this is where you really build that togetherness, that chemistry, that ability to, you know, lean on each other and fight for each other.
We'll let you know that's going well in camp.
Say it again?
We'll let you know that that's going well in camp.
Well, I think it's set in stone. You know, Coach Reid puts this challenge in place, and he leads his guys, and the leaders that have been here know how he wants that to be done. So it's really just, you know, you grind, you come to work every single day, and you go to practice with the right intentions. You slowly start to see the team get better and better every single week. I mean, the biggest thing is that we're gonna have to lock in from the jump. You know, I think we had the guys that were. Obviously, we had the guys the entire time. We didn't really make too many moves to bring anybody along during the season. And that being said, you know, we have the guys. I believe we have the guys in this room to get it done. We just got to take it week by week and keep that focus, keep that confidence, that focus, and that alertness to come to work every single day and be able to make those plays like we did later on in the season.
What stands out about Harvard so far?
His practice habits. Right away, he immediately became one of the leaders on the team on the offense, just by how he's practicing, how he's coming to work, his attention to detail, and that's doing wonders for the wide receiver room, for everybody around. Seeing that guy want it that bad every single day, I mean, it's only going to make you want to work harder. And then on top of that, he's still getting better. You know, he's getting better in this offense, so it's fun to see him grow in this offense as well.
Hey, Travis, there was a viral video yesterday. You threw your gloves to a girl with a Halo Twister on. I just wondered, what was your end of that interaction?
I wish it was as true as the video made it seem.
Okay.
I kind of just threw it in the stands, but you know, sometimes fate, somebody just ends up landing a glove that they didn't know they were going to get.
Travis, Patrick said he brought a TV to camp for the first time because he wanted to watch the Olympics. So, you a big Olympics guy? Any events you're
I love it. I can watch it on my phone, though. You got to get YouTube TV, guys.
A couple more.
Do you have a score from last night's game between K-State and Texas Tech that Patrick was playing on EA Sports?
No.
Let's go with it.
Travis, are you just as hard on yourself for a mistake or a bad?
I'm my biggest critic or my worst critic. Nobody can tell me you know, how bad I did on a play. I know it right as the play got over with. I know what I need to do better and everything. It's just you have to have that certain mentality of always finding ways to get better, even when you have success on a play, you know, and that's just how I've kind of went about it, and I got that from Coach Reid, knowing that you could always do things better, and you can always make somebody else's job easier on this field.
Last two. PJ or Lester. PJ making the
Travis, I know this is a question that's further down the line, but as someone who's going to be, you know, in the legacy of this franchise, do you have an opinion on the stadium? Do you want the team to stay at Arrowhead, or have you thought about that at all?
I guess I guess, you know, Arrowhead's home for me in Missouri right now. You know, I've been there for the past 12 years, so I do feel like it's a part of my heart and everything playing in that stadium out there in Raytown. But you know, the fans want what the fans want. We play for them, so I think it's up to them. And in the head of the organization, Clark Hunt and everybody, I know they'll do the best that they can to give everybody what they want and make the best decision for the organization.
Travis, also we saw you traveling around quite a bit this summer. Was there anything that you had to do to get prepared for this that was different than, say, year 6, year 7, based on just the obligations you're doing?
I would say for the biggest thing was getting my body right. You know, last year was pretty taxing on my body, and I mean, it is what it is. I've had more snaps than a lot of guys, if not everybody in the NFL, over the past 5-6 years. And you know, I'm very fortunate. I'm very prideful of that. But I know it has taken a toll on my body. So it's just, you know, making sure that my body's getting that rest and that ability to, you know, train harder and be able to withstand an entire 17 to 20 game season.
Is that more like personal trainers? Is that more, you know?
Oh, it's the full gamut. I got guys all over the place. I have my personal PT, and then on top of that, I got the best in the world here in Kansas City. So.
You still work with Skasel?
Yes.
Speaking of 18-game season, what are your thoughts in terms of where that could go and what would have to happen to make that more powerful?
I know it's a 17-game season this year, and I'm going to try and make it all the way to New Orleans, baby. Thank you for last year on that article, man. I really appreciate that. Have a good one.
And that was Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce at Chiefs training camp with some pretty interesting comments there. And he was also joined by Andy Reid and Tranquil. Let's take a listen.
Guys challenging each other, going back and forth. Got a lot of 1 versus 1 and 2 versus 2 going today. Red zone was a big part of today's practice, which we need. You need to be sharp in these areas, and that's a big one right there. So it was good work today. Time's yours.
How do you evaluate where Louis Reed's standard is at, especially in the one-on-one that
Yeah, listen, he's learning. This is all new to him, but he's working his tail off, working through it. You can see his athletic ability. He's just got to get used to doing all the different things we're asking him to do.
What about the players at left tackle? I know it's real early in pass, but what do you see from them?
Yeah, I like the competition there. They're going, really, there are 2 of them that are working in there. And they're doing a nice job. So they kind of go back and forth, and they're challenging each other. They're also good friends, so they've developed a friendship, and it's good, healthy competition.
Andy, how much do you emphasize turnovers here in training camp? I know you talked before about quarterbacks testing windows, but even for defense, how much do you emphasize?
Yeah, both ways. Yeah, both ways. You don't want to turn the ball over, but at the same time, I want to let the quarterbacks work and see what they can get away with, and so without being ridiculous, you know. So, and then defensively, we're always punching the ball out, which is good for the runners and the receivers. It's good there that they can get that work and feel that, but. So turnovers end up being a big thing, catching the football on the back end defensively. We can keep working on that.
You're speaking to Sky Moore as he enters this camp and how to challenge him.
Yeah, just listen. He's a few years into this thing now, so just cut loose and play, and let's not think through it. Just go play. And he's doing a nice job with that. He's actually playing good football right now.
Coach Reid, what do you see from Tranquil, given he'll have an expanded role this year?
Yeah, I like what I see. He's a competitive kid, very smart. He played back on the back end in college, so he's got that feel there. And then, you know, he can get in the box there and play like a linebacker. He kind of grew into that position. So I like what I've seen. Physical player.
Is this big group being out very long?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I know he was messing with you guys, but he does have a groin there. You know, that I mean, we all have groins, but he has a sore groin.
How do you think it's a concern for Najee, just considering he did have that surgery last year?
I think he's going to be fine. Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. You go through those things, and but he's strong, and that on his legs strong, his knees solid, all that. So he'll be fine.
If you look at the kickoff rules, has there been a change as big as this since you've been in the NFL?
Probably not quite that big. No, that's a big one. You know, it's big for the officials too. We've had the officials out here. And these guys are working the Thursday game, the Hall of Fame game. So it's our first time being exposed to that. So we've been working on it all off season. They're just getting exposed to it, and it's good to listen to them and see hear what they're thinking going through this and the issues that might take place. So it's been good for our players for that.
What conversations been like with the officials? Like, did you learn anything specifically from them about the new kickoff?
Yeah, well, they go through the new changes, which is important. This is a good crew right here. So they're one of the better crews in the NFL, and it's good to get their feedback. And they're great with our guys. They get in and give our guys feedback. We had a meeting with them last night. They did a nice job there. They had a video to show us. Did a nice job there. Yeah.
And what are some of the challenges Kingsley's working through right now?
Yeah, just well, there are a few things. I mean, just the physical part of it, of being out here every day and going full speed against the best players in the world. So you've got to be able to back these things, and he's working his tail off doing that. And then the mental part, we're throwing a ton at him. But I like the way he's going about it. I like how he's fighting in there, and he's going to be okay as we roll here.
Coach, this was a trippier practice maybe the last couple of days. Drew was involved, it seemed like a lot of it.
Yeah.
What's that fine line between wanting a guy that has some fire and,
Yeah, well, you have him and you have Pacheco. They both have fire, which is great. I mean, that's what makes it go. These are dog-eat-dog practices, man. And so any of that competition like that and a little talk helps you get through this. And for them to get their juices going like that, I love it.
Hey, Coach, for the last 3 years, the number of quarterbacks that have had to start games has been in the mid-60s, which is much higher than the previous 15 years. So I wonder if you've noticed that trend and why you think it's trending upwards, and then if it changes the way that you think about your own quarterback.
Yeah, so it's a vulnerable position, and we've always tried to keep a veteran guy just in case that has a pretty good feel and experience in there, because we know those numbers. I mean, that's what it is, and you're in a vulnerable position right there with some big men that are chasing you, trying to get you.
Hello, everybody.
Feeling good?
Yeah.
You're in a good mood for longest practice, one of the hottest days. How do you keep your motor going on a day like that?
Man, we got a great group of guys, and we're excited to play ball. One of the things I noticed when I came to Kansas City is you just had a group of guys who love to play football. The days get long out here at St. Joe. They can get hot. Thankfully, we had a nice breeze today. Everybody felt good. But the spirit was high, and we just got a lot in the balance, and we got a lot to compete for. And so we know Coach Reid says it every day. He's like, you just got to show up and push through. And I think that's kind of the spirit of this team, is push through anything.
Drew, I think some folks may know you more for your pass coverage, but I mean, as evidence through today and through the years, I mean, your run defense is kind of right there with it. Just with that aggression you showed today, just what does that mean to prepare like that for the run defense and impart that, that monster?
I think it's just life. Like, there's stereotypes, and like I came into the league as a former safety, and so people are going to automatically think this guy's not a physical linebacker. He's a smaller linebacker. He's good in pass coverage. He's good this, that, and the other. And so you just got to know yourself, and you got to come and work on areas where you're strong, work on areas where you're weak, and just try to get better as a player.
Kind of what PJ was saying, you could tell that there was some fire, and maybe even more than the previous seasons. Just what are you trying to instill in some of your teammates there as far as the attitude of the defense and linebacker?
I don't know that I'm trying to instill anything in anybody else. I'm just trying to be myself. I love this game. I love the opportunity to play for a great organization. And I mean, you're around such great coaches and great players. I mean, this is a historic time to be a Kansas City Chief, and I feel grateful to be a part of it. And so I just try to come out here and do my job to the best of my ability. And if I can teach a young guy a thing or two, or help one of our guys who's tired or something, then it's a bonus.
What's your reaction to the NFL ban on the swivel hip drop tackle? Does that affect how you approach the game and having to think more
What do you have to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough as a defender when you're tackling grown men in space. I don't think any of that's intentional. I think you're just trying to get a guy down. It'll make it tougher on us as defenders this year, for sure. But I trust that they're looking at the injury data and trying to keep us safe. And certainly when you put your weight on a guy's rear end and on their ankles and on their legs, it obviously increases the chance for it, or increases the risk for injury. And so if we can eliminate things that cause a lot of injury in our game, I'm for it. It's going to make it harder, though, as a defender.
Drew, I know you're kind of super dad, big family man. I saw you talking to the family yesterday. Just how much are they inspiring you, especially when you can't see them in times like you can?
It's really hard. I mean, it's a credit. I'll give a shout out to my wife. I mean, she's back home with 3 children, and she's waking up early with them. She's putting them down at night. She's dealing with all the whining and the crying, everything in between. She's having to move here, move all of our stuff. And, you know, I'm here playing football, and so our families go through a lot for us to play this game. They don't get nearly the credit we do. They don't get to talk to the media. The media doesn't really talk about them. And so the stuff that they do behind the scenes to make this possible is nothing short of amazing. And they know how much we love and appreciate them. And, yeah, we love our wives, we love our kids, we love our family.
How much more comfortable do you feel in the defense, given that you're going to have an expanded role this year?
I mean, I just feel more comfortable because it's my second year in the system. This is a complex defense. We all know that. And I think this is only my second time in my collegiate and professional career where I've played in the system 2 years in a row. And so looking to make big jumps, looking to, you know, be in more command and communicate more with my teammates.
Can you talk about the competition between your unit and the offense that you guys have every day?
I mean, we got a historic offense. We got the best player in football across from us. We got the best tight end ever. We've got a just slew of receivers that can threaten the field vertical, level 1, level 2, level 3. We've got one of the most physical offensive lines in the NFL, and they make it tough in every aspect of the game. You've got a Hall of Fame coach in Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and their entire staff designing plays that are tough that you haven't seen before. And so they challenge us each and every day, but it just makes us better.
Last 2, Matt and then Nick.
Drew, what's it like being on the field on days like this when you've got those like 10+ long drives, you're out there for a while, Pacheco's talking to you, you're talking to him. What's it like on the field? It's just that exchange and that competition.
I think it does something chemically in your body. It gives you a little more adrenaline, a little more dopamine whenever you're chatting, talking with somebody. Helps you forget how hot, how tired you are. But man, is he a ball energy for our team? He does a lot for this team that goes unsaid, just behind the scenes, vocally. And when you have a guy that runs as hard as he does and brings it week in and week out, it makes you puff your shoulders up a little bit and get ready for it on the defensive side. We're thankful to have Pacheco for sure.
You're rubbing yourself a little bit there too, though.
I'm just trying to bring it, man. I'm just trying to. I know he's going to be low in the hole, and I got to be able to meet him there and knock him back.
Drew, you've been a former young player before in this league. I just want your perspective on 2 things: watching the kickoff rule, how that might be even more difficult for young guys trying to make a roster, and given what you go through, obviously in the one-on-ones, just what has impressed you most, or what's it been like to try to teach Lewis how to be prepared for this game, considering he's obviously never played football?
Yeah, I'll answer the second part first. I mean, there's a lot of aspects, I think, of rugby that probably translate over to the running back position, and there's probably a lot of aspects that don't. He's learning the aspects that don't, and he's seeing the aspects that do. We know he's got incredible top-end speed. He's got to learn in pass pro how to sit down, how to take on blocks. He's got to learn the ins and outs of the game, and he's a great athlete. That'll come with time. In terms of the kickoff rule, it's tough because you have guys that are coming to make the team, and they're going to do so on special teams. And you've got veterans that are learning the rule for the first time, too. So it's like we're all in the same boat. It makes it tough when guys have never necessarily played this way before on the kickoff. But I think it's going to make the game more fun. I think that play will be exciting. I think it'll be an interesting trial this year to see how it goes. I anticipate obviously a lot more returns, and I anticipate a lot of touchdowns, to be honest. It's difficult the way the setup zone is. If you get 1 or 2 guys out of a lane, it can create a huge seam, and there's no layers to it, and so there's all defenders at the same level, and so if you break through that one line of defense, you're really on the kicker. And so it'll be interesting to see what teams do if they put their kicker in there, if they put a safety body like we have Jared Reid. There's a lot of nuances that we'll see as the season goes on. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, that was Chiefs linebacker Drew Tranquil, now in his second year in Chiefs Kingdom, talking alongside Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. And earlier you heard live from Steve Spagnuolo, Trent McDuffie, and Creed Humphrey. So a lot to digest as the defending Super Bowl champs are back in St. Joe. And I know earlier I teased that we would hear from Neil Jones. Well, guess what? Good news. We've upgraded. It's Marlia Campbell, as you see her.
Sorry to disappoint.
There you go. And she's brought in, you can see she is live at Missouri Western here. So, Marlia, I know today's camp was a bit of a lighter one without the pads. So let's talk overall here. What are your top camp takeaways when you look at this team as a whole?
Yeah, well, first of all, you mentioned Neil Jones. He was fanning me right before he came on, so I'm kind of sad that you missed that. Yeah, as you mentioned, today was a lighter day. It was called a 10-10-10 practice, which means they run through 10 offensive plays, 10 defensive plays, and then 10 minutes of special teams. So unpadded, they're in the shells. Still an important day, mainly on the mental side of reps. But as far as big takeaways from camp goes, nothing too surprising so far. I'd say the biggest position battle I've been watching has been that left tackle spot. Interestingly, on the first day of full pads, Kingsley Sumataiea, the rookie, actually got starts in the first string over Wanye Morris, who was the second-year guy who got some snaps in real game action last year with Donovan Smith going down to injury. That's one that I think we're going to see going back and forth all camp long, but as of right now, it looks like the rookie is maybe slightly edged ahead. Another guy that I'm keeping a close eye on is Kadarius Toney. He's been getting a lot of reps with the first team. He's been getting some snaps at running back as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him this year. But yeah, big takeaways. I mean, it's camp season. This week, 100 degrees all week long. It's in the high 90s right now. So it really feels like training camp. Of course, the team will get the day off tomorrow, and then we're back in action on Wednesday.
Camp takeaway, it's hot. Dynamite. I love it. All right,
biggest takeaway. Yeah, it's very hot.
Let's go on you mentioned left tackle there. Anybody on the defensive side, anything you've seen that stands out defensively from Steve Spagnuolo's unit?
Yeah, well, the big one is going to be who's going to, I use the word replace lightly, or that's not the right word, but L'Jarius Sneed, who's going to fill his absence. And I kind of lead with all these qualifiers because nobody's going to replace L'Jarius Sneed. This is largely going to be done by committee, but Steve Spagnuolo has said that second cornerback spot is up for grabs. I mean, Trent McDuffie's the obvious guy that's going to be the staple of the defense and of the secondary, but after that, I mean, there's a lot of names who are trying to fill that spot. Josh Williams, certainly one of those. So we'll see how that goes. But of note, too, Chris Jones sidelined for the second straight day with, I believe, a quad injury. Not too surprising. I think it's more precautionary. Jones has mentioned a lot how he's hoping to get some days off at camp this year. But, Jared, if you're talking about positions that I'm watching on the defensive side of the ball, definitely that Sneed absence is going to be felt this season. Right. And no one's really separated themselves early in camp.
And finally, newcomers. There aren't many newcomers on this team. They're really kind of running it back, keeping the band together. But I think the headliners are Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown. But I'll leave it open to any rookie or any newcomer that you haven't mentioned yet. Is there any first impression that you have that fans should know of?
Yeah, well, you mentioned Xavier Worthy. I mean, he really is presenting a deep threat here at camp. Again, very early. We've only had, a handful of full padded practices. First one was on Friday. I mentioned Kingsley Sumataiea, another guy who may very well get significant reps in his rookie season. Jared Wiley is another guy. He obviously, I think we're pretty solid at the tight end spot. There's some guy here that, people are talking a lot about. But this is a big year for him in terms of being able to learn under Travis Kelce. I'd like to see a little bit more of him at camp. He hasn't gotten a ton of, reps on the other end of Mahomes' arm. But that's certainly a name I'm looking out for as well.
All right, and finally, your favorite Neil Jones story. Unfortunately, you've spent a lot of time with Neil over the past couple weeks. Any reports back on Mr. Jones?
Oh, man, where is he? He ran off somewhere. My favorite
probably.
is probably him literally. Yeah, I see him actually running away with the car. him literally fanning me a few minutes ago before I was going on. I was hoping you'd catch it live, but we missed it. Yeah.
There you go. All right, Marlia Campbell reporting live at Missouri Western, framed very nicely. You can see the scoreboard over her shoulder there in St. Joseph, Missouri. We'll have more from her, Neil Jones, and myself coming up on KC5 News at 4, 5, 6. Our stream at 5:30, of course, also talking about the Royals. Some big news today, and again at 10 o'clock. So, yeah, Marlia, we appreciate you hanging out on the stream with us, and we thank you, the viewer, for hanging out with us. That'll do it for today's Chiefs training camp coverage. We'll see you back here on Wednesday because, remember, no practice tomorrow. We're back here on Wednesday.